Hey, this is Roaming Millennial. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I would like to talk about Islam. And great to see you keeping it fresh with new and exciting video ideas. But why does everything have to be about feminism? Feminism. Why I'm not a feminist. But why does everything have to be about feminism? I rag on feminism all the time, criticizing feminism. Self-awareness, zero. I consider myself a civic nationalist. But that's not because I'm a racist. Absolutely not true. Objectively false. You shouldn't judge someone based on labels. Things like social justice warriors, these social justice warrior advocates, social justice warrior activists. And speaking of SJWs from the SJW community, if you ask me, the regressive left, you regressive leftists out there, extreme liberals, regressive leftists, the regressive left from regressive leftists. So no, I'm really not into this whole group label thing. Self-awareness, zero. Now the alt-right definitely buy into beauty of will and biological racism or biological determinism, but I will say that so far I don't think it's fair to characterize them as a violent movement. So there are definitely tools out there. You can call me a racist and a bigot all you want.
Well, I was going to anyway, but thanks for the permission. Hello there everybody, and welcome to episode 49 of The Descent of Man-osphere, the series where I take you through the ways in which the Man-osphere and its utterly disgusting, reprehensible douchebag inhabitants are trying to reverse human evolution and drag us all back into the fucking sea. And today we're dealing with the alt-right's favourite useful fucking idiot. Yes, it's Roaming Millennial! Now you might be thinking to yourself, well Kev, why do you call her the alt-right's favourite useful idiot? And that's because, well, she is. But the reasons that she is start off with the fact that as she is both half white and half Chinese, but white passing, she is white enough that I can talk to her without thinking, oh my god, it's a black person, what do? They're probably going to rob me, or something, which is the general sort of alt-right reaction. But also that she is mixed race, and so they can use her essentially as a kind of mixed race shield in order to sort of purify their ideas in the minds of the general public, because, I mean, they can't be racist, right? They've got a half Chinese friend. And when their half Chinese friend basically parrots back a lot of the same shit they do, then clearly it can't be racist, even though it is. It's essentially Nazism, wrapped up in a 21st century veneer and spouted forth by useful idiots, like Roaming Millennial. Now, one of the ways that Roaming Millennial is an alt-right useful idiot is the fact that she uses the gaslighting technique against the left of saying, well, basically, it's because of the left that the alt-right even exist in the first place.
I'm Roaming Millennial, and this video is a very special after-school presentation called An SJW's Guide to Growing the Alt-Right, where I'll show all you regressive leftists out there how you can continue growing the white nationalist movement that you claim to hate, yet seem to be doing everything in your power to encourage. Your intolerance toward people with different viewpoints, your marginalization of people who don't agree with you are the reason why the alt-right exists in the first place, why white people feel so marginalized.
Yes, and that particularly tired, fucking worn-out piece of right-wing hack fucking bullshit nonsense is very much in keeping with this sort of general lack of originality, wit or intellectual capacity shown by RM on the reg. But her regular use of that particular piece of intellectual dishonesty, I think, is inspired by and in part a reaction to an article written by Right Wing Watch. Yes, I think it was her butthurt reaction to this article which featured Roaming as an enabler of the far right on YouTube, aiding the rise of white nationalist scumbaggery. Yeah, suffice it to say, she did not take this article well.
Hey, this is Roaming Millennial. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about some straight up lying that's been happening, specifically some false allegations of white supremacy that have been levied against me and some other creators who talk about similar issues as I do.
Straight up lying, you say? Well, we'll see who's lying in a second, won't we?
The other day I went to go check Twitter to see what was in the news, see what people were talking about, maybe pick some fights with internet strangers, tweet out some inflammatory remarks, you know, the usual. So I'm scrolling through my mentions when I see that Peach Bailey, who you guys should know, she's been on this channel before, has posted this. Apparently Sargon and I had, weirdly enough, been labeled right-wing extremists by Right Wing Watch. Huh.
And there you go, there's your first lie, because you say that they claimed you were a far-right extremist. Well, let's take a look at the article, shall we? Yep, you and Carl are listed in the segment entitled People Who Enable the Hate, which states, below is an... well actually, you know what, I'm going to let you read this one for us, Roaming.
Below is an introduction to some of the most prominent right-wing social media personalities who have used the popularity of their own platforms to host people with even more extreme views, or who have appeared on platforms hosted by extremists. These figures do not regularly use their platforms to personally express particularly racist or extremist ideologies, but frequently host guests or appear on platforms that do with minimal criticism.
Yeah, you even fucking read that bit out yourself later on in the video. So why the fuck did you claim they called you right-wing extremists when they fucking didn't? You just read out that they didn't, and yet you claim they did. And if we look at the segment on you specifically, it says that you host right-wing extremists, but at no point does it claim that you are a right-wing extremist. So I think we can all see, Roaming, that it is in fact you who is the fucking liar on this one. But I tell you what will completely and utterly 100% dispel the idea that you're a right-wing extremist, and that would be if you, I don't know, say brought up George Soros for absolutely no reason but to poison the well in the minds of your stupid, rabid, racist fucking audience.
For everyone who is fortunate enough to not have heard of that, Right Wing Watch is a website run by People for the American Way, which is a progressive advocacy group literally funded by George Soros. That's right, literally Soros funded. I feel like that kind of tells you everything you need to know about them.
Yep, there you go. Absolutely no anti-Semitic dog whistling going on here whatsoever.
These figures do not regularly use their platforms to personally express particularly racist or extremist ideologies, but frequently host guests or appear on platforms that do with minimal criticism. That's right, guys, we have an entire section of guilty by association.
No, it's not guilt by association, it's guilt by enablement, okay? You and Carl enable the far right, okay? Talking to them is one thing, whereas having them on to your platform and giving them the platform in order to essentially spout their shit with only token resistance and opposition from you, that's enablement, okay?
And here we have Sargon of Akkad, just this huge hate alt-right enabler. He may have thrown you off with all those critiques of the alt-right and identity politics, but no, trust us, he's enabling them.
Carl has only ever given token opposition, theoretical opposition, fucking milquetoast pathetic opposition to the alt-right. Sorry, what was that again, Sargon?
I'm not judging you for being a Nazi. If you think, like, I'm going to have a lower opinion of you because you're honest about what you believe, you're wrong.
I'm being honest, Sargon. When you keep saying that, what you're implying is that I'm sadistic and just want to kill a bunch of people.
No, I don't think Hitler was sadistic, okay? I don't think Adolf Hitler was a sadistic man.
Yeah, he fucking enables them.
Although RM does not identify as alt-right, she has welcomed right-wing extremists like Tara McCarthy to appear on her channel. Yep, I have had Tara McCarthy on my channel, and guess what? I would do it again. The video where I welcomed Tara on my channel and enabled hate? Yeah, that was a debate on ethno-nationalism where we were disagreeing with each other. I explicitly articulated in that video why I was not alt-right or an ethno-nationalist and the problems I had with those movements. How is providing criticism against something enabling hate?
Well, Roaming Millennial, the problem arises is that when you have these extremist, far-right fucking pricks onto your channel, you give them the platform, and you only ever give them really, really fucking pathetic, limp, frankly fucking arse-covering opposition to their viewpoints.
So I do think it's possible for people of the same race to be culturally different, people of the same culture to be racially different, but it takes time. It takes work. That's why it's part of the reason why we shouldn't let in large groups of any one large groups at all, but especially not of any one single group. That would be a really hard sell, especially to Africa. So I guess what would you do in instances like that? Or even, you know, more and more we're seeing interracial couples. I think it's something like almost 10% and it's only rising. You know, what position would that leave them in? I understand where you're coming from, and I agree that a lot of the things you're addressing, there are issues. There are definitely issues, but I guess where we would differ is, you know, how much emphasis to put on culture versus race. And something you mentioned was the concept of white conservation. And I think white genocide as a term is used a lot among the alt-right. And personally, the term genocide, I think doesn't quite fit this, but
it's a bit much.
Right, that's what I think, but it is, you know, if you look at the numbers, white people do have the lowest birth rates.
And having given that pathetic fucking milquetoast, frankly, token nonsense opposition to the people that you debate, you then sit there and agree with them and fucking echo their key talking points.
I'm not an ethno-nationalist, but with the dangers of, you know, population replacement, I do believe that is still a danger even when talking about high IQ immigrants.
And that's facilitated by the EU. So I would like to see certain barriers
to that level of mobility restored.
I actually agree with that.
When whites thrive, the whole world thrives. And when we're gone, it's going to be hell on earth, in my opinion, from what I can see.
Mm-hmm. And I definitely don't want to see whites extinct from the planet at all. And I think if we look at the regressive left, there are active, I think, efforts to try and discourage white people from doing things like having children.
And of course, you are a person of mixed race, as you pointed out, and so it's difficult for me to say this to you, but in a way, you're a great danger, because it's so easy to imagine, mixing further, right? That's what we want.
I have heard many a white nationalist say that they would be okay with white genocide as long as it was with me.
Right. You see, and that
social justice is at its very core a Marxist ideology. And I know I'm on the right, but I'm not some crazy right-winger accusing everybody of being a dirty commie, even though some of these people, really, they are dirty commies. Addressing their actually legitimate concerns about the direction the West is heading should we continue down this path of social Marxism, cultural Marxism, and Islam. Because I think that's one area where I feel like someone who isn't alt-right could maybe kind of be like, oh, well, maybe this isn't so crazy. And I think, personally, when the movement was a little bit newer, I think that's maybe why I became so interested in it, because for once there were actually people talking about the idea of nations and the idea of nationalism, which for the longest time has been almost made into this dirty word, this dirty concept by globalists.
And now people are finally saying, no, we're not going to stand by. And thankfully in Europe, there's people they can vote for. But yeah, I see it's probably the most pivotal time. I feel right now is the most pivotal time in this country's history. Because the political class are so asleep, the media are so asleep. By the time they wake up, it may be too late.
Right, definitely. And it is true that white people today, especially in the West, are given the impression that they should feel bad for their heritage, that they're not allowed to be proud of where they come from the same way that Latinos are, the same way that African Americans are.
For me, it's worrying about what's going to happen in the future, because I see whites rapidly becoming disenfranchised in their own countries. And the reality of the situation is, if we do not drastically change something, we are going to be minorities in our own countries. Every single one of them. It's not like we have some other country we could just go to. Every single country, every single state. And we are going to be dramatically disenfranchised. I mean, right now we are being financially exploited by non-whites in our country. Like, right. If you just look at them as a whole.
And I agree with all of those things, right?
So let's get this right. You give weak, pathetic, almost non-existent opposition at times, right? You then echo their points and parrot the same fucking nonsense and sit there agreeing with them when they're spewing their hatred. And sometimes you don't even fucking oppose them whatsoever. There is one particular part of the first of the three-part interview that you did with Richard Spencer where you let him talk for 5 minutes fucking straight, unopposed, uninterrupted by yourself, during which time he mentions the Jewish question, right? Which just absolutely shows that he is a neo-Nazi piece of fucking scum. And at no point do you interrupt him, and straight after he has finished his completely unbroken spiel, you move on to something else completely. You didn't give him any opposition to that whatsoever. That's what we mean by you fucking enabling them.
That video was a great example of two people coming together with different views and discussing their philosophical disagreements. It was done with no malice toward each other, no name calling, no dirty debate tactics, just an honest conversation. We don't see enough of that these days, and throughout that entire stream, all I was arguing for was treating people as individuals, based on their character, their actions, what they believe in, not their skin color. I refuse to believe that me doing that is enabling hate. But roaming, you guys were friendly with each other. I find it really interesting how so many of these progressives who advocate for love and tolerance seem to believe that politeness, civility, and kindness are things only to be bestowed upon people who agree with you, not just, basic human decency.
So you always offer basic human decency to your political opponents, do you? Oh, right, no, you fucking well don't. So why, roaming, do you offer civility to the far right, but not to basically anyone on the left whatsoever? It couldn't be another slimy enabling tactic, could it?
I disagree with the alt-right movement. I've spoken about that quite a bit on this channel and a lot on social media. But alt-right individuals I've had on my channel, like Tara McCarthy and Millennial Woes, have never done anything to personally attack me or be cruel to me. They have been nothing but civil and cordial and willing to discuss things.
Well, of course they're fucking cordial to you. They want something from you. You're their useful idiot. They want to use your larger platform to spew their fucking hatred from. You're also, as I mentioned earlier, their mixed-race shield, because obviously they can't be saying something racist if they're saying it on the channel of someone who's half Chinese, right? Now look at the difference here, right? I'm someone who actually fucking opposes the alt-right. I'm someone who actually opposes their ideas and speaks out against them. They treat me like fucking shit. And I'm very proud of that reaction, by the way, okay? It shows that I'm on the right path. Now, what is the difference between me and you that they treat you well and me badly? It's because they know I'm actually an opponent of them, whereas you are actually their useful fucking stooge.
Why would I be a dick to them? They've never been a dick to me. I had them on specifically to talk about our disagreements, but they've never been rude or cruel to me. Why would I treat them poorly? What would me being hostile accomplish? Would it get my point across better? No. Would it do anything more to convince them or anyone else of my point of view? No. Would it virtue signal how deplorable and outrageous I find their views to be and how upright my own morals must be in order for me to get this upset about it? That's the one. That's the one.
So when you viciously attack the left, as I showed earlier, right, when you do that, you're not doing that to try and further your argument or to try and change someone's mind. You're doing that to virtue signal. Good to know.
But anyways, moving on, because now it is time for...
Rory Katz, I didn't say you could do the intro to this bit. Alright man, fucking hell, look, just put the baseball bat down, yeah? Look, stay cool, yeah? We're all fucking friends here. Roll the intro. Roll the intro! Yes, it's the occasional bit about Lacey Green, which isn't really occasional, so it's basically a sham title for a sham intellectual. Anyways, yes, there's a couple of bits concerning both Lacey Green and Roaming Millennial. Firstly, it was actually a piece of Lacey Green nonsense which first brought Roaming Millennial to my attention, because Roaming Millennial was at the centre of a weird censorship row involving Lacey.
So apparently I've triggered Lacey Green. So if you don't follow me on Twitter, I guess you don't know the story, which is that one of Lacey Green's fans, I guess, saw my video and sent these tweets to her. I don't really know what the sound of my voice being calm has to do with anything, but anyway, and in response to that, Lacey sent this. So yeah, she's filed a copyright claim against me for using one of her images in my thumbnails.
Yeah, that's right. Lacey reported Roaming Millennial for using an image of Lacey in one of her thumbnails, which is fucking ludicrous. But I just wanted to bring that up because I think it's really interesting that the anti-SJW side have now totally forgotten about this piece of utter fuckery on Lacey's part, because Lacey now agrees with them. It's almost as if the accusations they levy at the SJWs are actually just projection on their part. But one more thing I wanted to bring up regarding both Roaming and Lacey was this piece of something.
Yes, gender is a topic that has been talked about a lot in this community, but the reason why I thought it might be worth addressing again is that, like a lot of you, I recently watched Blair White's stream with Lacey Green. So for anyone who's not caught up, a couple weeks ago, Blair White had Lacey Green on a live stream where they discussed a bunch of different things, but they mainly focused on gender and gender identity.
And what was Roaming's big takeaway from this absolutely groundbreaking fucking debate?
Yes, at the end of the day, there really are just only two genders.
Yeah, that's right. She didn't change her mind in any way whatsoever and just continued to repeat the same old transphobic garbage that she did before and still fucking does. And of course, at the same time, preaching the same hateful transphobic bullshit that the alt-right does in regards to gender. Yeah, what a fucking surprise that is. Anyways, moving on, because now it's time for... Yes, it's the inevitable bit about rape, this time with added xenophobia. Yay! Yes, and Roman Millennial has something of a double standard when it comes to the issues of rape and sexual assault. Yes, because when it's Western men that are doing it, she can't fucking wait to make videos just spewing forth the same old rape apologetics bullshit. Like in this video, #MeToo, with a question mark, for no real reason, regret and consent, where she says dumb shit like this.
Yeah, I do think this whole regret rape thing is a growing problem, but thankfully it also has a pretty easy solution. Do not engage in hookup culture. And I know that's not a popular or trendy cool thing to say, but really having an established relationship with someone based upon trust and respect and affection before you sleep with them solves issues of miscommunication and emotional vulnerability and perhaps getting falsely accused of something down the line. And I am by no means saying that all strangers will intend to rape you or harm you or anything like that. But face it, even the kindest stranger out there will not be as invested in your well-being as someone who loves you.
Yeah, that's really fucking dumb, because actually, you're far more likely to be assaulted by someone that you know, rather than by a stranger. So following Roaming Millennial's advice to just not engage in hookup culture won't actually do much at all, and it would be really dumb to think that it could. It's just her tradcon, or traditional conservative, dipshittery fucking around with her head and the way in which she sees the world, which is a common trope throughout most of her videos. But given how willing she is to let Western men off the hook for their vile, disgusting crimes, and by the way, Roaming, you absolutely are, because if you have to say this kind of shit in your videos...
And look, this is not rape apologetics. I'm not saying that this happens all the time or that women are always secretly consenting and they just don't know it.
Yeah, if you have to say that, then you almost certainly are doing rape apologetics. And trust me, you were and you do. Yeah, but like I say, given how willing she is to excuse away and essentially deny the crimes of Western men in this area, it has to bring into question why she seems so concerned when it's non-Western men that are doing it.
So, yes, they definitely have a completely different worldview that is not compatible with Western civilization. And I wanted to ask you, what aspects of Western civilization do you value the most?
I think not enough can ever be said about freedom of speech. I mean, in my opinion, it's sort of what allows us to even discuss our other rights. Because if we didn't have the freedom to talk about these issues, it wouldn't matter what other rights we had, because we wouldn't be able to defend them. Even just through debate or logical discussions, we wouldn't have that opportunity. But as someone who has time spent living in Canada, and is sort of like looking at all these women who are being assaulted in Europe right now, I also think that the right to self-defense is very important. Mm-hmm. And my heart really aches for all of these women in Sweden and Germany who have been attacked and are not going to see justice for their attackers because of the fear of being labeled racist. I mean, we have women who are even afraid to report the ethnicity of their attackers. Yes,
I'm sure her heart bleeds for those women. It has absolutely nothing to do with race and immigration and stuff like that. Absolutely not at all. I'm sure, yeah, because it's definitely rape when an immigrant is accused, but it's definitely just regret rape. It's just, oh, she regretted it and later said that she was not consenting, blah blah blah, when a Western man does it. Apparently. Which for me raises 4 points that I'd like to mention here now. Firstly, why the double standard, Roaming? It couldn't just be that you're a xenophobic piece of shit, could it? Secondly, save your faux moral outrage, okay? You don't actually give a fuck about women who are, victims of rape and sexual assault. You've shown that rather conclusively on the multiple times that you've mentioned the Me Too campaign, okay? You're just using any rapes that happen at the hands of immigrants in Europe in order to attack immigration, and more specifically Muslims, because, you're a bigot. Thirdly, why is it that you believe so fervently in the right of due process for Western men, but when it's an immigrant, a non-Western person that's accused, all of a sudden you're very happy to listen and believe? And fourthly, and you may have noticed that this is a recurring theme throughout this episode, you are once again parroting the alt-right. Oh no, imagine that, you spreading the alt-right's fucking dirty lies. I mean, it's almost like you're enabling them or something. Anyways, let's wrap this episode up because I'm so done at this point. What did I not get round to mentioning? There was her occasional fat shaming that she likes to engage in, which by the way, is fucking ludicrous on a number of levels, most notably the fact that she claims to give a fuck about the health of people who are overweight. But we know from scientific research that shaming is one of the least efficient ways of getting people to change their behavioural patterns and their eating patterns and exercise and all the rest of it, that there is. So clearly you don't actually give two fucks about the health of these people. You've just found a way that you can at least plausibly be a bigoted piece of shit to yet another group of people. There is of course roaming pretending to care about the sexualisation of children, whilst at the same time being chummy as fuck with Milo Yiannopoulos, who, lest we forget, advocated that middle-aged men should be allowed to fuck boys. Yes, she clearly doesn't give a fuck about the sexualisation of children whatsoever. I briefly mentioned her being a transphobic piece of garbage, but I think it's worth impressing upon you that she really is a very transphobic person. But I mean, she seems to hate quite a lot of people. I mean, she's just a sort of generally all-round bigoted individual, and I think that sums her up rather well, really, just an all-round bigot. So anyways, with all of that said, done and out of the way, there is just one thing left for me to say. Roaming Millennial, go fuck yourself.